SOMNIPHOBIA.
Some crimes end in a confession, a courtroom, a name the world can point to. Others leave only a house still standing and a silence no one can explain. This is one of those. In this episode, we turn to an isolated farmstead at the edge of a Bavarian forest, where, on a March evening in 1922, 6 people were killed in the space of a single night. Together, these deaths became known as the Hinterkaifeck murders. When the killing was done, the murderer did something that has haunted the case ever since. For roughly 3 days, investigators later concluded, he remained on the farm, feeding the cattle, eating at the family's table, while the dead lay in the barn. The story we return to this week turns on a single, unsettling idea: that the deadliest danger can come from within a family, and from the past it keeps hidden. This one kept a great deal. Hinterkaifeck was a farmstead some 70 kilometers north of Munich, alone at the edge of a dark pine forest near Gröbern. House and barn were joined by an inner passage, so a person could move between them without stepping outside, in a place where no scream would carry to another house. Andreas Gruber, the owner, was 63. He lived there with his wife Cecilia, 72, his widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel, 35, and her 2 small children. What the neighbors knew, and what court records confirm, was that this was no ordinary family. In 1915, Andreas and Victoria had been convicted of incest. He served a year, she served a month. Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, had been reported killed in the First World War, though his body was never recovered. Her small son, Josef, was widely rumored to have been fathered by her own father, a claim, several accounts say, she had admitted to a lover. At the center of it all were 2 small children, a 7-year-old girl named Cecilia for her grandmother, and a boy not yet 3, Josef. The plan would reach them last. To anyone on the road, it was one more farm in the Bavarian countryside. But by that March, the family had begun to feel that they were not alone. The unease had a beginning. About 6 months earlier, the family's maid, Crescens Rieger, had given notice and left, saying she had heard footsteps in the attic above her and believed the house was haunted. In March 1922, stranger things followed. Andreas found, lying on the property, a Munich newspaper that no one in the house had bought, and around the same time, a house key went missing. Then, in the days before the killings, Andreas told his neighbors something stranger still. He had found footprints in the fresh snow, leading from the forest to the farm. There were none leading back. He had also heard someone moving in the attic above them. He searched it. No one was there. He mentioned it to the men he met, almost in passing, and no one that season thought to write it down. It would matter later. On the afternoon of the 31st of March, a new maid arrived to replace the one who had fled the house months before. Her name was Maria Baumgartner. She was 44. Her sister walked her to the farm and then went home. By that evening, 6 people were inside the farmhouse. The new maid had unpacked her small bundle by lamplight, and it was the last night that all 6 would be alive. What happened that night can only be reconstructed from what the investigators later found. It began in the barn. One by one, on some pretext, 4 of them were drawn out to the barn: Andreas, his wife, his daughter, and the 7-year-old girl. There, in the dark, each was struck down with a mattock, the family's own tool. The 2 who remained were killed where they slept: the little boy, Joseph, and the new maid, Maria, only hours after she had arrived. Investigators noted the shape of it for years. The victims had been separated and taken one at a time, killed with a tool that already belonged to the farm. This was no frenzy. And then the killer did the thing no one has ever explained. For roughly 3 days he remained on the farm, feeding the cattle, eating the family's bread, cutting meat from the pantry. He stayed. A local artisan later said he had seen the oven lit at night. When he came closer, he was blinded by a lantern held up by a figure he could not make out. No one raised the alarm until the 4th of April, when uneasy neighbors came to see why the family had not been seen. Among them was Lorenz Schlittenbauer. They found the 4 in the barn, under a layer of hay. Schlittenbauer went in alone and moved the bodies, and later, neighbors would say he had seemed to know things before the police could. The autopsy fell to a court physician, Johann Baptist Aumüller. All 6, he found, had died of skull trauma from the mattock, the same blood-crusted tool later found in the attic. One finding was the hardest. The 7-year-old, Cecilia, had not died at once. She lay in the barn for hours and tore out tufts of her own hair. There was a stranger epilogue. The victims' skulls were severed and sent to Munich, consulted by clairvoyants, and then lost during the Second World War, so that the family lies buried at Waidhofen still, without their heads. Robbery was never the answer. A large sum of money was found in the house, untouched. The first suspect was Schlittenbauer himself. He had been Victoria's lover and had disputed the boy's paternity. Years later, he reportedly remarked that trying to bury a body had been hindered by frozen ground, something few could have known. He was never charged and won slander suits before dying in 1941. Others were suspected. Victoria's husband, Karl, who might not have died in the war, local burglars, a drifter, yet of 100 questioned, none could be charged. The file was closed in 1955. For decades, the case lay closed. Then, in 2007, police academy students re-examined it and faulted the original inquiry for never taking fingerprints, and they agreed on a single, most likely suspect. They would not release his name for his living descendants. What this case leaves us is not an answer, but a picture that will not resolve. A farm at the forest's edge, footprints leading in and none leading out. A killer at the family's table, and the dead in the barn. that's where the record ends. For now, subscribe